Torey, how are the guys feeling today? What's the attitude? What's the mentality? It's World Series Game 1.
You know, I can't, believe it or not, tell any difference in their attitude and their makeup of their day and the construction of their day, I should say. We had morning meetings today at the hotel. Everybody seemed to be in a great spot. It was after breakfast. And, you know, I'm mindful of the potential shift in mindsets or emotions, but our guys have been maintaining this mindset, as far as I could tell, from day one of the playoffs. So we know that it's Game 1. I don't want them to run away from the fact that it's a special venue, a special time, and it's going to be exciting. But they deserve to be here, and I think they're ready for this opportunity to show the world that they're a good baseball team.
Down here in the front on the left.
Hey, Skip.
Hey.
You've proven that belief that young rookie teams choke in the big arena. You went to a very difficult arena, defeating the Dodgers, defeating the Philadelphia Phillies at home on a Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to been able to keep your young players focused,
Mm-hmm.
not to lose that focus in such a big, important arena throughout the playoffs?
Well, first of all, we have very high-functioning, high-performing players that just happen to be young, and I think they love the opportunity to show everybody how good of a baseball player they are. Part two of the answer for me is that we've talked about it before. We've talked about the reality of what's there. We embrace the reality of everything that potentially could happen, and it's brought up and talked about. So once it is upon us, I feel like they've already digested it and moved past it, and they're ready to compete. And we just talked about competing. That's all we want to do. We want to compete and maintain our competitive edge every single day. But we have different conversations inside of our clubhouse. Yeah, we talk about bats and balls and gloves and stuff like that, but we talk about emotionally supporting one another and understanding, if we can, what's around each corner. And different players and different coaches can help players peek around each corner to make sure young players are ready to perform.
Paul in the back right.
Torey, just as far as roster decision goes, does that just come down to Peterson giving you some more options late in the game, and you feel like you can navigate a 7-game series with your 12 pitchers?
Yeah, I think so. We there were some times where I looked down at the lineup card. We were flexed out a little bit, and I had Jordan Lawler, right-handed hitter, and a backup catcher. And I thought, you know, it would be nice to have another left-handed option there. If it gets down to it, we feel like the importance of him that left-handed at bat helping us win a game, and maybe even a left-handed start, I don't know, could help us win a game over the fact that the 13th pitcher or 14th pitcher could be there to help us get through a game that we don't want to use our A or B reliever. So that's what the conversation was for the majority of the day yesterday. And yeah, we're thrilled that Jace has been working his butt off to make this happen. I know he's super excited.
Greg.
Torey, good to see you.
You too, Greg.
What's it been like for you and your guys to go from being, you know, baseball's best kept secret to now everybody knows you?
Yeah, I'm picking up on that vibe. That I think we're getting some respect, and I like that. Nothing excites me more than watching what's happening there in Arizona. Kids are dressing up, going to school in Arizona Diamondbacks stuff, and stuff's flying off the shelves and at the sporting goods stores. We love that, and we have talked about what that's going to feel like. Once again, one of those types of conversations. What's it going to feel like when we get to that point? We talk about getting to that mountain, making sure it's the right mountain, climbing that mountain together, and here we are. You know, there's two teams standing at the top of that mountain, and we're going to continue to fight the same way we always do every single day, and that's connected and prepared. And I feel like this group is just seeing it as another challenge to go out and play their best baseball game against another team that happens to be really good, but happens to be the other team standing at the end of the line. That's how they're approaching it, and I don't want them to look beyond that. I think they probably have had conversations with their family and friends about how exciting it is to be here, and I think when they walk in there and they get between the white lines at whatever, 7:07 today, they're going to be ready to compete with blocking out all of the, are we good enough? Yes, we are. Do we have to prove anything to the world? No, we don't. Let's prove it to ourselves every single day.
Ryan on the right side.
Torey, when you look at that Texas lineup and kind of game plan for how you want your pitchers to attack, what stands out to you most about that group of hitters they had there in the starting nine?
It's deep. It's real deep. I think I said a little bit yesterday, when you got Lowe hitting 7th and Young hitting 8th and Taveras hitting 9th, those are good enough hitters that you could probably push them up in just about any other lineup inside of the major leagues. We know that it's extremely deep. We've got to be spot on. We have to have a really good game plan going into this, and we can't come off of it. We've got to make adjustments and be adaptable at bat to at bat and inning to inning, which we will be. But it's a deep lineup, and you got to manage it 1 through 9. There's no let up. I expect our pitchers by the end of the night tonight, especially our starter and Zach, I expect them to be emotionally exhausted from continuing to press on through his game plan.
Barry in the middle.
Hey, Sal, what's going on?
Hi, Bear.
So with Fott, you went from 60 to 70. You took him out in the 4th inning in Philly. What's your expectations now? Do you take the leash off of him a little bit and let him see how far he can go, or do you just still do the 4 innings? That's part one. And part two is, with carrying less pitchers, how's that going to affect what you do with him in Game 3? And then I'm assuming you have a bullpen game in Game 4.
They're connected for sure. We talked about that, so you hit that right on. Games 3 and 4 might be a big concern for us, and it might mean that Brandon does have to go a little bit deeper into the game. And I've been going 18 plus or minus 4. That's kind of what I adopted late in the season. So we'll continue to march on towards that. But the anticipation is that we've got to be a little bit crafty and a little bit more careful, knowing that we don't have 50 or 60 pitches sitting on that 14th pitcher in the bullpen. But once again, we're expecting to go out and play our finest games, and that we're going to be budgeting for our A and B relievers to get us through those moments. Specifically speaking with Brandon, he has shown a lot and has earned the right to potentially pitch a little bit deeper in the game, and I'll read and react. Game 1 and 2 will determine what happens in Game 3 for sure. We'll be coming off an off day, so we can be a little bit creative, but it's definitely something that we talked about. We budget for the best case scenario, worst case scenario, blend them together and have about 4 or 5 different plans. So we're going to be very mindful by just watching what's going on and reading and reacting.
What's your take on Brandon's evolution? The first half of the season, there were games where you couldn't wait to take him out, and I didn't want to see him pitch. And then now he's pitching great.
Yeah, I just think it's the evolution of a young pitcher, a young mind, and a young athlete. And we're very careful about how we talk to and treat and bring along those guys. And there were times where our plan was to have him come up and start 3 or 4 games in a row just to get a look at him, get his spikes dirty, and say that he's ready for the next step. But the starts didn't go that well, and we would recognize and see the data. We would see the input there. We would also watch the results, and our gut was telling us a story about what he had to improve upon, and we pulled the plug on him a couple of times and sent him down. But with each time, he was told what he specifically had to get to. I think the final adjustment, which was the most critical adjustment, was moving him on the rubber, which changed the shape of his pitches that were coming into home plate. And since that time, he's really taken off. So I think he went from the right to the far left. But once again, that's our architect in Brent Strom, getting information, a player trusting it, asking the reasons why, which our players are supposed to do. We asked him to, and now that he's come back, he's been one of our top performers. And with each start that he gets, he earns a little bit more, right? You got to earn your keep in life, and I think he has trust. It's just how far can he go? We're gonna continue to push that boundary each time.
Teo on the left.
Torey, obviously the back end of your bullpen has been fantastic for the last month or 2 months, but in particular in the playoffs, Saul Frank has struggled with his command and walks. Do you envision changing up the way that those last 3 or 4 innings shape out at all with the matchups and with his role?
I don't know that answer. We need outs. We got 3 lefties to match up. I'll have discussions and figure out who the best options are. 1, 2, and 3. It's 2 hits, 9 or 10, or 11 or 12 walks, and with 19 batters faced. Right? It's not ideal. But there are specific reasons why he's been pitching in those games. He has gotten big outs, and he has done his best to protect things. It hasn't gone perfectly, and we know that he gets on rolls, and when he gets on a roll, he becomes very effective. I don't want to run from him. He's on this roster for a reason. So where and when he pops out, I don't know, but those are discussions that we'll be having in the next couple of hours.
If you changed that role, would you be more likely to just go at the last few innings with all right-handed relievers, or potentially have Mantiply or Nelson in some of those higher leverage spots?
I would probably bump up a lefty if it wasn't Saul Frank, and it might be, I don't know, but I'd probably bump up a lefty and match up that way.
Any last ones for Torey? We'll finish up in the middle.
I'm just curious if there's anything you guys learned in games 1 and 2 of the NLCS in Philly that help you now here in Texas in games 1 and 2 against the Rangers. I know it's a pretty deep question to ask, but I'm just curious if there's anything that you can think of.
You know, collectively, I'm not exactly sure. I think we digested those games, and that's probably the one thing I can say is that you're never out of a series at any point. We won 4 of the last 5 games against the Philadelphia Phillies to advance here, and it was so bad in Arizona, I heard that you couldn't give away tickets to Game 3, right? So things can change quickly, very quickly, and you got a pulse and you got a heartbeat. You still got a chance. So that's what I would say collectively. You know, personally, just making sure you slow down the game, never let the game get too far from you by being too high or too low, and just shoot it right in the middle. And you know, you're conditioned for these moments. Like I said, we're adrenaline junkies, and you know, you look for that flush of adrenaline when good things happen. So just to slow it down for me personally, that's probably the most important thing.